Greetings to everybody. Welcome to this literature reading session. We will continue to read from the talks on the Gita by Vinobha Bhave. As I was trying to understand this subject of self-realization by reading, there were few thoughts that impressed me from the teachings of Guru Nanak Ji, which are very useful for us. Because a lot of times we don't understand why we are meditating. What is it that we are striving for in meditation? What are we mastering in this meditation? Guru Nanak Ji makes one statement. He says, one is divided into five. That is because of the five senses. And he says, if you seek the one within these five senses, you will become a master. So, what is within the five senses? What did he mean? He explains that the eyes see what they are seeing because the mind is watching through it from behind. You hear, you touch, you smell, you eat. Who is that experiencing this perception? Who is experiencing this experience? All the senses are experiencing because the mind's attention is on them. All the senses are active when the mind is making them active. For this, he gives a couple of examples. He gives the story of one person who there was an emergency. He heard that his house is burning. And so he is running on the street. When he is running on the street, he did not see anything on the street. He did not hear people screaming in the market. He could not smell the food that was being in the stalls. He was just running through the market because his mind was focused on reaching home because of the emergency. Other times, when he was walking on the same street, because the mind is perceiving the food stall, it's hearing the music, it is seeing all the people, the beauty around, the saris hanging on the street. But when there was this emergency, his mind was at home, so he could not see anything. So it is the mind that makes the senses perceive. And in this, he gave another good example about the story of Raja Janak in a different way. When a disciple was sent to Raja Janak to learn, the disciple seeing Raja Janak amidst women, riches on the throne, wine was being served. And he thought, why am I here learning from this person who is totally engrossed in the material world? What can he teach me about the soul? He was about to leave, and Raja Janak says, since your master has asked you, why don't you just spend one night here, and tomorrow morning you please leave after you say goodbye to me. So the man goes to his bedroom, and the next morning he comes back, and Raja Janak asks him, did you sleep well? And the man says, no. And the king asks, why? He says, there was a sword, a knife hanging on my bed, and it was ready to be cut off any minute. And so I could not sleep. So Raja Janak explains, just like as you are seeing the knife hanging, reminding you of death, I am also every moment reminded of death and the impermanence of life. So how can I pay attention to the wine, the women, and the riches? My attention is on divine awareness. So my mind is in meditation in the presence of the Lord, and what you see outside, I am not seeing, because my mind's attention is inward. And this is what Babaji Maharaj calls living dead. Live as if you're going to die the next moment. All the sages really imbibed in this statement. That is why, you know, we see death all around us, but we never think it will happen to us. And so we live like there is forever you are here. But if you are aware of the impermanence of this moment, your senses, even though they are in the world performing, you are eating food, you are enjoying the food, your tongue is enjoying the food, but your mind is in remembrance. This is the purpose of meditation, is to train the mind to be in remembrance, in devotion. When we have the meditative state, the senses are subdued and the mind's attention is on the ultimate. That is why we meditate. That is what the mastery is about. The senses do not experience anything outside in the matter when the mind's attention is inward on the center. You eat, you keep your body healthy. You see so many things. You touch, you enjoy the children. But when the mind in the morning has been so trained to be inward, its attention is on its state of being. So when such a mind uses the senses paying attention and is observing the forms everywhere, everything fades off and a formless state pervades, and you arrive at that meditative state. So, even using the senses in remembrance leads to dhyana. Using the senses in remembrance leads to that meditation. So, this is the most profound art of living. It is to attain this mastery over our attention. Where is your attention? So, that is why meditation is the mastery of the senses. That is why our great master Lalaji has given the technique of all my senses are in a state of balance. They have arrived at their original character. In that original state of the senses, they were absorbed in the ultimate Brahman and yet they lived. So at the superficial level, dhyana is, meaning of dhyana is paying attention, observing. And at the deepest level, dhyana is meditation which leads to the discovery of the master that is within you. That is why Daji said, darshan can only be had in the heart in meditation. So there is nothing profound than arriving at this state which leads you to the master within, the wonder that he is. What is this state of wonder that we are talking about? It is like a pregnant mother. She has the baby inside. She knows it. She carries it. But first time when you see that ultrasound picture and you see this being moving, you are in awe. Oh my God, really there is something inside me. It is a state of wonder for the mother. Same thing happens to the being when in meditation you perceive the presence of the master and his state of being, and that true darshana happens. First time you are joyful. Yes, I don't have to be there physically to see him, physically to get an acknowledgement. I am able to perceive inside. This is what dhyana should lead us to when our senses are perfected. We'll continue with our reading. Here, Vinobha Bhave from page 34 says, renunciation of the fruit of action. He gives two examples. The saints have demonstrated this in their lives. Shivaji, the king, had great respect for Saint Tukaram because of the latter's exemplary devotion to the Lord. Once he thought of honoring him and sent a palanquin to fetch him. But Tukaram was so deeply distressed by the arrangements made to honor him. He thought to himself, is this the reward for my devotion to the Lord? Is it for this that I worship him? He felt that the Lord, by placing this fruit of the worldly honor in his hands, was punishing him away from him, and said, O Lord, this prank on your part is not good. You may be trying to push me away from you by offering this little bribe. You may be thinking of getting rid of me this way, but I am not so naive as to be taken in by this. I shall cling firmly to your feet. And even for us, this happens. And that is why the other day, Master said, Revered Daji said that even if the Master tells you that you have reached a certain condition, you are in a living dead state, you should continue to meditate. Because at that moment when the Master praises you for a moment, like about your condition, we think that, that little ego of ours pops up and we think that I don't have to meditate and I am better than other people. I have achieved the goal. There itself is the fall, that test you have failed. That is where the alertness of the devotee who has mastered the senses is able to perceive, and he is able to shift into this state of humbleness, the humility that we are training ourselves for. We are training to be humble. We are training to become insignificant. We are training to feel that you are nothing and he is everything, that ultimate is everything, and you are really nothing. So the training, when somebody is totally trained like that and have mastered the senses, they would have this feeling of what this devotee Tukaram is having. So Vinobha Bhave says, devotion is the swadharma of the devotee. That is the duty of the devotee is devotion. His art of living consists in ensuring that the devotion does not get distracted by the lure of the worldly gains. So, to maintain this state of devotion inside ourselves is our duty. And that state of being should not be lured by anything. So, the life of Pundalik shows us an even more profound ideal of renunciation of the fruit of action. So, here he's trying to give us examples of what does renunciation of fruit of action is. He's trying to bring us to this understanding that it is a state of being, that all those futile things don't matter to you. You enjoy them, you experience it, but you are not attached to that. Pundalik was devoted to the service of his parents. Pleased with this, the Lord rushed to meet him. But this boy Pundalik refused to give up his duty to welcome the Lord. The service of the parents was for him a form of worship of the Lord. So it is like a lot of times when we are in meditation, this is a good example for all of us. And we hear Master is coming, and immediately we open our eyes and we want to see the Master, thinking that the physical presence. And the Master is always telling us, before arrive, be in the meditative state, perceive. So a true meditator, a true devotee of the purpose, the one who is devoted to his purpose, we should be able to feel the vibration of the presence. And that vibration of the presence, we should be able to feel even when we are sitting at home. So this is where all the great sages who have walked on the path, they're trying to give their experience so we benefit from their experience, so we understand from their experience. Someone may rob others to provide comforts to his parents, or a patriot may seek the prosperity and glory of his own country at the cost of other countries. Such worship of one's parents or one's country is nothing but selfish attachment. It is not true worship. Pundalik was not trapped in such attachment. It was indeed true that the Lord himself was standing in front of him. But was that his only form? Was the whole creation lifeless like a corpse before he appeared in that form? Pundalik told the Lord, O Lord, I fully understand that you have come to bless me. But I believe in the doctrine of this also. I do not think that you alone are God. You are certainly God, but my parents too are God to me. And since I am engaged in their service, I am not in a position to pay attention to you. Please, therefore, forgive me. Saying this, he pushed a brick for the Lord to stand on and again became engrossed in his work. Saint Tukaram says with loving admiration in a lighter vein, why have you become so presumptuous in love? You made Lord Pandurang stand at your door. How have you become so audacious as to throw a brick for him to stand on? But that is the power of devotion. That this young boy who was serving his parents had the courage to feel the presence of that divine in his parents in the service. So when the physical master appeared, he asked him, gave him a seat and said, please wait. The doctrine of this also, which Pundalik applied, is a part of the ingenuity in the renunciation of fruits of action. A man who renounces the fruits of action is totally absorbed in his work and his outlook is broad, tolerant, and balanced. He does not therefore get entangled in the web of abstruse academic arguments and remains firm on his own standpoint. He does not argue, not this alone is true. He holds humbly but firmly that this also is true and that also is true, but this alone is for me, and that he should stick to his own swadharma. This paragraph is an example of our revered Master Daji because he is so absorbed in his work. His outlook is broad, his tolerance balanced. He doesn't get entangled in this academic arguments, but his experience of the truth is very firm, which he shares. And he holds humbly but firmly. That word fits Daji so well. He is humble, but yet he is firm, and his actions are disciplinarian actions. A man, and so what are we drawing from this statement? We are trying to see where we need to go to, what we need to become, what we need to work our character formation in becoming that. A man once went to a sage and asked him, must one leave one's home, that is, give up one's worldly duties and responsibilities as a householder in order to attain liberation? The sage said, certainly not. King Raja Janak attained liberation while living in the palace, fulfilling his duties as a king. Then where is the need for you to leave your home? Later, another man went to the sage and asked him, sir, can one attain liberation without leaving the home? The sage replied, who says so? Had it been possible, were persons like Shuka fools to leave their homes, that is, worldly attachments, for the sake of liberation? So there is no one truth. There is one person that he left all the entanglements and went inward. That is what leaving the home is. It is not that you physically leaving your home and your belongings. It is that your attention, the mind's attention, going inward is true sannyasa, true living. While one asserted that the sage was in favor of leaving home, the other said that the sage had advised him against it. They again came to the sage. He explained both the advices are correct. What is important is to become detached. Then one can follow different ways in accordance with one's disposition. So it is okay to be married or not married, to be in the family or not family. But what is your state of being, your disposition? The answer depends on the way the question is posed. Usually, when we pose a question, it is our desire for that. It is your desire to stay at home. And that's why we are saying, is it okay to, will I get liberation if I stay home? So our questions are based on our desires. It is true that one need not leave home for liberation, and it is equally true that one has to leave home for attaining it. This is what the doctrine of this also means. Here, I want to clarify one thing. The other day when I was talking about the desires are what is pulling us from the matter, and that is the bar. Somebody texted like worrying that, oh, I have so many desires, how am I going to? The beauty of the heartfulness method is we don't need to worry. We are trying to understand what the masters are teaching us. But the masters have already laid us the foundation of the path. When we meditate in the morning, that very first prayer that we are saying, fixing the goal, thou art the real goal of human life. And the second statement is what we are making the acceptance. Yes, it is the desires from this matter that is pulling me. Third statement is I am unable to get out of it, so please help me. So the prayer, if done with deep feeling, will get rid us out of that field of pull of desire. The second practice that pulls us out of desire is point B cleansing. Third practice that pulls us out of desires is point A intentions. When we are making these intentions that this particular weakness has left me and I have no attachment to it, even to be egoistic is a desire. Even to be controlling is a desire. Even to be stubborn is a desire. Jealousy is a desire. All these weaknesses are desires that are pulling us. So they are already giving us the technique. So we don't need to further think about, oh, how do I get rid of my desires? If we practice the practice thoroughly the way it is given. And bedtime prayer is another way of getting rid of desires. Where, a lot of times people enjoy hating other people, hurting other people. It is a desire. When somebody does something wrong to you, this inner pull in us to say something back to them so they will learn their lesson. Is there, that is a desire to prove somebody that is there wrong. Everything is a desire. So if we practice the practice correctly, we don't need to worry about it. All this we are studying is so we have clarity. We have clarity of the path, the practice that we are doing, and appreciate what is being given to us. We are being given diamonds, priceless diamonds in our satsangs, in our meditations, in our techniques, but we don't value them. That's why we don't practice. If you value it, we will practice. We are trying to understand the value of the practice by reading the literature. We will read one more paragraph. Pundalik's example shows the extent to which one can renounce the fruits of action. The temptation that the Lord offered to Pundalik was certainly much more alluring than that offered to Tukaram. Still, Pundalik was not carried away by that. Had he succumbed to that temptation, it would have spelled his ruin. Once a certain path is chosen for oneself after due deliberation, then it must be pursued till the end. This is exactly the statement our masters say. Once you have tested the path, tested the guide, and you know it is working for you, stick to it. Don't keep on going. Oh, today I am going to this temple, tomorrow I am going to this mosque, tomorrow, the other day I am going to the church, Thursday I am coming to meditation. Then you go nowhere. You test the system, you test the guide. If you are convinced of the transformation happening inside you, stick to the path. So that is Swadharma. And that this Pundarik, this young boy, who realized by serving his duty properly, by serving his old parents, he is going to arrive at this state of being. He stick to his duty, he stick to his experience. So, on a certain path for the realization is chosen, once a certain path for realization is chosen for oneself after due deliberation, then it must be pursued till the end. Even if the Lord Himself appears before you, you should not be tempted to leave that path. As long as one is in a body, it is one's duty to follow the chosen path. Seeing the divine face to face is then in one's hands. His vision is always there for the asking. Why should then one bother about it? Who can deprive me of oneness with the whole creation? The very purpose of this birth is to fulfill this longing. So, what is the purpose of this life for us? To fulfill this longing of our heart. What is our heart longing? It is longing for union, it is longing for bliss. And where can we find this bliss? Within our own self. When the Gita says, let there not be any attachment to akarma, the comprehensive meaning is that while doing desireless work, one must not have desire even for the ultimate freedom from the action, liberation. Liberation means nothing but freedom from all desires, not from all actions. This is a beautiful clarification. Liberation means freedom from desires, not freedom from action. Why should be there desire for it when the renunciation of the fruits of action reaches this point? The art of living attains perfection like the moon. We are learning a lot from reading this book. Now we will all meditate.